let's do everything we can to build credibility as we go before we even get there, so we can draw on that access that we build when we need it. We don't want to have to handle a situation in the ball game and try to draw on something that's not there and we're bankrupt. Then you have all kinds of issues and problems. So why not work on your appearance before you get there? People making judgments about us when we walk through the door. Is it, let me ask this question, is it fair? Who said reality? Thank you. Fairness has nothing to do with it.
Nope.
If you want fairness, I would suggest going to do something else, okay? That's reality. Reality is people do make judgments based on first impressions. When it comes to how you communicate, what you say, how you say it, your appearance. It is that important. You didn't even like that. All right, that's okay. Next slide, please. I have a question out there. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent question. Believe it or not, weight does play into your perception as an official. You know, we're having technical difficulties. It's okay, we'll work through it. When weight is an issue, that's reality, and trust me, you know if weight is an issue. All right. Go ahead and do this. Okay, so if you have a weight problem the rest of the deal with, you do everything you can to try to shed as much weight as you can, because it does factor into your perception. Good, bad, or different, that is reality. Next point. Ooh. Personal relation skills. How do you relate to others? I mean, it's based on
Operator Marcus.
You relate among your crew members. How do you relate to your crew? How do you relate to your assigner? How do you relate to the commissioner? How do you, I mean, what type of relationship are we building as we go? It is, excuse me one second. Okay, there we go. Now it is. Personal relations skills are very important to building your foundation. There are three questions that we should ask ourselves. How do we relate to others? Can you support those around you? And can you be trusted by those around you? And hopefully, everyone who's answering that question answers yes to all three questions. If you cannot be trusted, that means that your character is suspect. And it means that there are people who cannot depend upon you. And it's very important that the people that you work with, your crew members, feel like they can trust you and depend on you. So that when there's anything that occurs in your ball game, they have the faith in you to know that you're going to do everything you can to get it right. That's trust. They can come to you and ask you a question, and they have the faith in you that you will give them an honest answer. Okay, that's trust. It goes back to maintaining our crew dynamics, just forgot the word, crew dynamics and crew mentality. Thank you. We have to be able to trust one another. We have to know that if I'm working with Jeff Connor, I know he's going to be there early. I already know that. I trust him. I know that. I don't have to worry about it. We have to be able to understand that regardless of what happens, we're going to communicate on the floor during the ball game. We have to believe in one another to know that no matter what happens, we will be able to handle it. If that relational skills do not exist, where we don't build trust with one another, what are some of the possible outcomes if we don't trust each other during the ball game? One at a time, please. Inconsistency. Someone said, well, call outside the primary, yeah, that's going to happen.
You don't trust the people you're with when you're resting. You don't know what they're
back in your mind, you're thinking of selling you down the river, running on the bus.
Exactly. And so what did it do? It can breed conflict within the crew. And then that leads to the inconsistency because we don't believe in one another. If we develop those interrelational skills with one another, we trust each other. No matter what Justin is talking about with that coach, I'm not worried about it because I trust him. I know he's handling business. I know he's taking care of the situation. It doesn't creep into my mind, which can cause doubt, which can cause conflict within the crew. And then that causes us to lose sight of our objective for the night, which is refereeing the ball game. Okay? Next point. Okay, punctuality is another element that is vitally important, just like your appearance. It is something that communicates, it communicates who you are before you even step on the floor. Can someone tell me what are some of the consequences for being late to a ball game?
Not a proper pregame.
Not a proper pregame, which leads to not prepared, which leads to a breakdown in crew dynamics, which leads to a breakdown in our relational skills, which can lead to inconsistency, which can lead to issues occurring on the floor and conflict within the crew. These are all things that tie together. What's another consequence of being late? Bad perception, injury, definitely. Bad impression. We get there late. I was coming to that, Kenny.
Home management is really worried about whether you're going to show up at all or not.
There you go. It creates doubt in their mind. Then that, once again, that takes away from our credibility. And then, of course, that leads to a phone call, which could possibly lead to Kenny's last point, which is it can cost you not just a game or two, but it could cost you all your assignments. You could get fired. Because you can be a very good official. You can work hard, but if you're habitually late, trust me, you will lose your job because then you're not dependable and they can't rely on you. And that's one of the reasons why punctuality is incredibly important. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Next bullet point, please. Next one. And the last point I was going to make on punctuality is that it shows respect for the people who are depending on you. Your crew, it shows respect to your crew. If you're there and you're there on time, you respect your crew's time. You respect your crew's drive to go out and reach their objective, which is refereeing the basketball game to the best of their ability. It shows respect to the school that you're working for. It shows that you care about them because you're there on time and you're ready to work. That's another positive aspect of being punctual and being on time. Next point. I should say next slide. All right, here's another very, very important element to cover, and that is a thirst for knowledge. And like I admitted at the very beginning, I think that that everyone here has that. Maybe not at the same level, but everyone has it because you're here. You're here to gain knowledge and to get better, to make those improvements. And the thirst for knowledge is more than just intelligence, but it's a desire to keep learning and improving. And here's another important point. Never think of yourself as having arrived, but rather realize that you can become an expert at your craft at whatever level that you're on. We cannot allow ourselves to reach the comfortable level of thinking that no matter how long we've been doing this, that we've arrived, that we're there, that we're at the top of our game, because you have never ever stopped learning. There's no way you can ever stop improving. And the only way to maintain that is to maintain that thirst for knowledge, for information. If you get to that point where you feel like there's nothing else left to learn, that there's no other improvements to be made, then you probably should stop officiating and move into another endeavor. Because you're setting yourself up for failure and not reaching success because you will never be completely prepared. And if you do not continue to strive to keep learning and gaining knowledge, you will potentially position yourself for failure on the floor, where a situation will occur, you're not prepared for it, and not only that, you're not prepared to communicate with the rest of your crew on how to handle it. And that reflects back on you, and that has the potential to damage you and your quest, and your journey for success. Next point. Desire to keep learning. Next one. That desire to keep improving. And never think of yourself as having arrived. Okay, our next slide is going to be being a team player. And then the first bullet point on being a team player is how well do you function with your crew? Once again, like I said, I have a feeling that everyone's going to get an idea of the thread of where this message is going. And you have to have the ability, you have to ask yourself, how well do you function within your crew? I mean, are you communicating? Do you place members of your crew above yourself? Do you have the ability to pass off compliments, to pass off positive aspects of your crew members when you run the risk of not getting credit yourself? It takes a large amount of humility to be able to do that. But if you can gain that aspect, if you have that ability, you'll be amazed at how well your relationship among your peers will rise, and how often they will look to working with you because they will trust you. Some people, before I say that, someone give me a definition of what a team is.
Working as a whole to accomplish one goal.
I like that. A unit or people working as a whole to accomplish a goal or objective. And when we were working a ball game, what is our objective for that night? Be on the same page, not to have a phone call. What is our objective for the night? Oh, that should be pretty easy. Provide a good product and work the game. Work the game. We are guardians and stewards of the game. That's why we're there. That's our objective. To allow an even playing field for both teams that are participating. To not allow anyone to take advantage of anyone else. That's why we're there. And in order to maintain that or reach that objective, we have to be a team, a crew. We all have to have a common objective and all moving in the same direction to reach that objective. Sometimes it's difficult because sometimes we're not operating as a team, we're operating as a group instead of a group heading in the same direction. We're operating as a group of individuals with our own goals, our own objectives for the game, and we run the risk of having that impact the game itself because we're not consistent, we're not all on the same page. Being a team player requires an understanding of everyone's role and everyone's responsibility. And we must always have the ability to put the team's success ahead of ourselves, and the crew's success must be first and foremost at all times. Wow, okay. I think I'm ahead of TC a little bit. Go forward to the next slide, please. The next slide. That's nice. But don't you just love those PowerPoint? Boy, that's really nice. Okay.